Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Coffee with Derek and Craig here at 7 a.m. in the morning. Just had my cup of coffee. Craig probably need five more. but yeah, that music, startup music's by Alex Stoner, called "We Move On." I always like to plug them there because we use it for our startup music or whatever. Uh, but yeah, we're going to
I
talk a
noticed.
little.
I noticed it was on the bottom of the hardcore thing on something I saw. It actually said his name on the bottom.
Oh, did it? Okay, yeah, because
Yeah.
I just cut the music down for startup music, but and then on my thing it shows my movie too because I did it through iMovie and just chop the music down so it wasn't so long. And I was trying to get his name to pop up on there. I was glad it did because I don't I want him to get credit for it, and he does a lot of different I guess trailer music and stuff like that. I'm trying to remember the website, but yeah, a lot of people, some of these guys do this for a living or whatever. But you just want to throw his name out there. He has a lot of good video or whatever startup music, that kind of thing, on the website there. But Craig and I were talking last night before after we ended the show up and everything, and we wanted to do a show. Or Craig wanted to do a show about future metal detectors, metal detecting future. I can't remember how I put it on the title right there, but I guess Craig, what we'd like to see, I guess, or what we hope to see out of metal detectors.
Yeah. Well, we were kind of talking late in the show last night about all the advances. How they're putting like lithium, the lithium batteries in there, or the the it's like in the handle of the machine, and the whole, like the handle with the screen and everything, and it's all in this little tiny package now. And you used to have this big box on the machines and stuff, that added a heck of a lot of weight. And also the batteries, when you had like what eight double A or four 9 volt, they start adding weight to the machine.
Oh, exactly.
But I was thinking, what improvements are we going to see down the road? And I thought, we'd call it like the future of metal detectors. One thing I can see is look at the weight difference that's come out in the last. Deus kind of started it, but all of a sudden MindLab comes out with a machine that's under 3 pounds after they've had some really heavy machines, over the years that, I like the E-Track, but there was no way I was going to swing that thing all day. It's just, I did not like the weight of the balance of that machine at all.
Right.
It's like the meter is up kind of high above your hand. It kind of torques you. Mike McAdams had one, and before he got the Equinox, but I swung that thing, and I said, man, it's a really nice looking machine. It's got a great meter, and it works very well, but it's just heavy, and the CTX is even worse.
Well, it's like pulse machines with the ATX. I mean, it's a cool looking machine. The way collapses up and everything like that. But man, that thing is heavy. I've had guys at hunts that say, "Hey, can you help me set up my other detector?" I mean, this thing is killing my shoulder. As we get, I mean, maybe it's our age, Craig. Because we're both getting up there now, and
Yeah.
I'm hitting 50 next year, which I can't believe I made it this far. But I'm feeling it in my shoulders now, even using these light machines because of the repetitive motion. And having to, realizing that, having to change my grip on the detector or the way I swing the detector, shortening the shaft up a little bit instead of having it so long. I've always left mine a little bit long, only because you can cover more ground, to the left or right of you.
Yeah.
And
It's kind of like tennis. You get tennis elbow and shoulder tendonitis and stuff
right.
from these machines, and it's a repetitive.
Yeah.
That wears your arm down and it causes problems. And a lot of times you're out there hunting, and you start finding stuff and your arm's hurting and you don't even realize it, because you're just like in a frenzy trying to find stuff, and I've been out where, all of a sudden at the end of the day, I stop and I realize, oh my God, as soon as I stop, I realize how tired I am and how sore. But,
I've even switched arms, Craig. I started, metal detecting with my left arm, and it sounds dumb, but I mean, it's you have to think about it because you're swinging, with your dominant arm for so many years, and this, and it's not just people. Some of the people new to the hobby think, oh, you just swing it back and forth. What's the big deal? But keeping that coil, an inch off the ground or scrubbing the ground, and keeping it level all the way. I mean, it sounds dumb, but I mean, you have to, concentrate when you're switching arms to do that. So, you have a different kind of, you're not used to it on your left arm, but I figure, well, I'm going to start metal detecting some with my left arm only because my right shoulder, after all these years of doing it.
It's kind of funny. It's like tennis. You got to have the right swing,
right.
In tennis, and, you at first you don't really, your swing isn't real good. And over time, you swinging and swinging all the time, eventually you get it, you start swinging the racket better. And it's kind of the same thing in tennis.
Yeah.
When I first started, I didn't really know at first, how to swing the machine. I remember the first time I went out, I was finding coins because the place had so many coins, and I was hunting along the sidewalk, but I didn't know how, that about the swing affecting the depth and stuff, and I learned pretty quickly within a week or so that I had to go slow to hear those, deeper coins because the machine wasn't that deep.
Mm.
But,
well, Bill Marsh is saying on here, he said I'm right-handed and tried a few times to swing my left. It's awkward as heck. And then Gavin pipes in with, me too. I can't swing left-handed, and so used to swinging right-handed.
I can't either, and I'm semi-ambidextrous in a lot of things. But what I started doing was I started using my left hand to, I chop, most of the time, when I'm in the woods, and I have I just chop holes in the ground. I don't, go straight down. I have straight shovels. I use those in the yard stuff, but I got so over the years where I swung with my right hand and then I chop with my left hand, and I can't chop with my right hand. I'm not very accurate. I can take a full swing with my left hand and hit the spot I want to hit, because
right.
I've been doing it for so long, but it's the same thing. I can't swing left-handed. It just doesn't work to me. I don't know. I know people that are right-handed that actually swing left-handed.
Yeah.
But
me working on it, the reason that Bill brought up a good point. He's so used to swinging right-handed, even the sound is different on the left, and that's really that's because of the way that the coil's not totally. You're so used to swinging right-handed, you're keeping that coil totally level, or within reason, totally level and even swings, and you're overlapping your swings by a quarter or a half or whatever you're doing. And then you go to your left side and you're trying, and what you have to do, and you're trying to concentrate on that. So it becomes an aggravation to do it. And you're not even I'm doing it right because you're not used to doing it. I mean, it's out of the wheelhouse, sir.
And the heavier the machine is, the more awkward it's going to be swinging with your opposite hand. So,
there's an art form, smoothness. I mean, it's not going to.
If you had equinox or a dais would be much easier to swing, with your left hand, but it's still not going to feel right. I mean, you could probably keep doing it and it would eventually get okay, but I did it the opposite way. I just started
chopping,
perfecting my swing, with my shovel on my left hand, and I got very accurate with that, where it's just totally natural. But
I've actually kind of designed some stuff different on them, Craig. I'm surprised nobody has come up with a different upper shaft. We have the arm cuff. I mean, they're good designs. Don't get me wrong. They've stood the test of time with metal detectors. But I've often wondered about getting a second, not an arm cuff, but some way of the arm cuff usually comes just below the elbow most of the time on most detectors. And I thought about making a smaller cuff right where your wrist is. And, you slide through it. It has a piece of Velcro that you tighten it right there. So you need to handle a little bit. I mean, obviously to keep it, from rolling or whatever in your arm. But would take the pressure off of your wrist. Because I know that I have tons of wrist problems because of, I drove truck for many years and everything else. But with metal detector, especially one that's coil heavy, to the coil side of the metal detector, man, it can just like arthritis in my wrist if I don't switch the angle of my hand when I'm holding, like the S shaft on the blistle, turn my wrist just a little bit or hold, let it rest on my fingers differently to prevent the repetitive, arthritic causing whatever, carpal tunnel, whatever you want to call it, from happening. Just the angle that you hold the metal detector, the way you hold the metal detector, sometimes that can really help because you're not going to be using the same muscles in your shoulder and your elbow and everything else. Some of these guys have had surgery, rotary cup surgery and everything else.
Oh, yeah.
A couple of the guys using the CTX when it first came out. It's such a different, it's heavier, but it's also the way that you swing some of these detectors. I mean, when you're ripping shoulders up, and it sounds dumb. I mean, it's not that, but it's just a repetitive. It's like tennis players with tennis elbow, like you said. I mean, you do it for so many years, you blow out your elbow or whatever. It's.
But I've had problems, tendonitis in my shoulder. I've had it in my elbow on both sides. The worst is on the outside. The inside is not as bad, but I've had when I had a tennis shop, I used to have women come into the shop that got tennis elbow from ironing and painting.
Yeah.
And when you're painting, you got your arm up in the air, and you're kind of swinging with no body weight behind it, and that your elbow and shoulder can really take a beating if you're not used to that, especially if you're not a real strong person to begin with. But they would get these tennis elbow braces to go on, and I actually had tennis elbow so bad playing tennis, I had a cortisone shot, and I took this experimental drug called naproxen, and it's now called Aleve. But I was one of the first people in the United States to take that drug. It was brand new, and I went to a doctor that his name was Dr. Prinz, and he was actually in Rommel's army as a medical doctor in North Africa during World War II. Real fascinating guy to talk to. He had kind of an accent, but he was just an unbelievable doctor. And he was one of those guys, when he shakes your hand, you could tell his hands were like, I don't know, it's hard to describe, but you knew that guy had super hands, like he could. I had the same thing with a plastic surgeon one time. When you shake hands with these people, their hands are just unusual. They're
right.
They're like artists. What they can do with the surgery and stuff. And this guy was kind of the same way, but he kind of explained to me, all about why I had the tennis elbow, and it's definitely repetitive.
Well, people that aren't familiar with metal detectors, we have a lot of listeners that probably aren't metal detectors. They just like the show and they like the topics that we talk about. People think, oh, what you're doing is swinging a metal detector. It's no big deal. I'll tell you what, you want to get some cardio, you want to get some exercise, you dig 150 holes in one day. You walk terrain up and down hills and climbing over stuff, and I mean, metal detecting can wear your butt out. I mean, there's Craig seen me, man, when we were hunting like CWPPO and climbing up and down these hills and digging all these holes. And, by the end of the day, if you're if you're into it like we are, your body's shot. I mean, it's from years of doing it, but you crave to go out there and metal detect. And it's like, the next morning, Craig's thinking, I'm not even going to be able to get out of bed. I mean, that's how bad I was. I'm like, nope, me and ibuprofen and everything else, just to enjoy the hobby. I mean, if, a couple shots or something.
You made a miraculous recovery.
I was hurting so bad. And, of course, we were driving. I rented a car and drove up from Florida up to Ohio, and it's not a car that I'm used to. It's smaller. I'm used to, like, pickup trucks and stuff like that. And just the way I'm sitting in the car. I mean, all this stuff is a factor. But, I mean, you can get in some incredible exercise. I mean, you burn calories like crazy. I mean, look at Tim Glick. He lost 60 pounds. He said, I was 355 pounds when, like 2 years ago. I'm down, down into the 70s, right in there, a little bit lower. And most of it, the real exercise I get is metal detecting. And the more you do it, you also, there's a, the side effect, you're beating your body up. Yeah. But you do it with any kind of hobby. I mean, mine all stems from football and basketball and all that stuff through high school. And in my 20s, I burned my knees up, tore ACLs, all this stuff. And so, that's playing a factor in my health. But I think it's, if the minute you stop moving, Craig, that you stop doing your normal stuff, is that, your time is marked. You're going to, I've seen it happen to so many people where these older gentlemen and stuff that I know that they stop doing their normal routine, stop being active, kind of sitting in a chair more. They end up dying within a year. They're dead.
I won't name any names, but I know probably 15 metal detectors that, they've gotten too heavy over the years,
yep.
And it's affected their knees and hips and stuff to the point where they can't get up and down off the ground. They can't do it, and they're so devastated. I know one guy, he's been, trying to lose weight and everything to get, maybe rehabilitate himself to get back into it. But, a lot of these guys, they've been, I had one guy that I used to hunt with. He was big years ago. I mean, and he can barely, move. He loves metal detecting, but he just, it's hard on him. After an hour, he's about done. But
I guess I just don't. I don't have any quit in me, Craig. I mean, you see me. I'll keep on plugging away. I'm not going to quit. I'm going to keep on doing what I love to do. And it's this fight. I mean, I get and it's probably arthritis. It's I don't know what the hell it is. It gets you when you get older.
I it's like my friend Mike. He's gotten really big. He's like up 240. And I was getting kind of worried because it's it's kind of affected him. I mean, he's starting to lose some weight now, but he said between working and he used to play
stress,
tennis, work out, and now his body's, he's having trouble, with his shoulder and his elbow and hips playing tennis, and I told him, I said, well, I quit years ago. I just taught. In my 30s, I was starting to, feel it. And I knew, I couldn't play like I wanted to play. I wasn't able to keep improving anymore, and that's why, when I started metal detecting, I just fell in love with it, and I just left tennis behind. I like tennis still. I was watching matches this morning on TV, but I just, after I realized that I couldn't play at the level I wanted to play anymore, I just, that was it. I just taught after that.
Yeah, same with sports with me. I mean, if you can't compete on the level, you can't achieve your goals. Why bother doing it? That's the thing.
I never did it for socialization. I did it for competition. I loved competition. I wanted to kill people on the court. Just like I did in track,
Yeah.
I'm over competitive probably, but with the metal detecting, it's you kind of you kind of try to compete against people that you're out hunting with. You always want to find more, better stuff than that, but it's not the same. It's not like cutthroat where it's like, it's not a game. It's not quite a competition, but it's
Okay.
everybody wants to make some good finds, and beat your friends, and it's
Well,
like,
Craig,
you get a really, really good find, and you go, hey, look at this, and
here's a good one.
It keeps everybody out, like if your friend finds something good, it makes you go into a frenzy and try to, beat them or something,
Right.
But other than that, it's kind of a friendly competition more than anything else.
Bill has something for you, Craig.
What's that?
He says, when Craig was 30, men were men, and tennis rackets were made of iron, or made of granite. He's picking on you.
Yeah. Well, I when I first started playing,
Excuse me, sorry.
They were playing with wood rackets, and I started playing with aluminum rackets, and then they switched to carbon fiber.
Oh, carbon fiber. Yeah.
And I was one of the first people to get this $250 Prince racket. It was, man, that thing was unbelievable. It was so light and so strong, it could just knock the crap out of the ball.
You used to see. Well, with you were talking about the entrenchment shovels too, Craig. I mean, it's like I was up there hunting with Craig, and he swings an entrenchment shovel like a samurai warrior. I mean, but he does it with his left hand. He's right-handed, but he's done it for so many years. And now with me, I started off with using like a Predator tool that size, like a 30-inch handle, T-handle shovels, and you guys see me now. I use a long-handled shovel. Only because I drag it, like I do a lot of beach hunting too, so I drag that shovel, not only for the reason, I drag it behind me like a sand scoop, not only because of it's more comfortable for me, but also with the metal detectors that I use, some of them are pretty powerful, and if you carry a shovel just like down by your side or hang it from a belt, your metal detector can actually grab a piece of it when you're swinging to the left. Craig, I don't know if you've run into that or not. You have to actually pick the shovel up and hang it on your shoulder or get it up out of the way anyways. So I went to a long-handled shovel that bending over to drive the shovel into the ground.
My problem got to be I had a carpenter's thing for a hammer on my left hip, and I would slide the handle of the shovel into that and carry it on my hip.
Well, yeah, you could
fine for many years, and then I remember about 5 years ago, I was at this colonial site, and it was the steepest area I've ever hunted. It was just like it was a mining area. Some of these mining holes, you almost had to crawl in the ground. It was so steep.
Yeah.
And the ground was really mineralized in there and everything. But there was this colonial roadbed that went straight up this hill at the end of the day, and it was like climbing a mountain. And I met, physically, like breathing, it didn't bother me at all. It never did. But I remember this one day, all of a sudden, I was going up that hill, and my hip started hurt. And it got to the point where I had to take the thing off my hip, and then it seemed like I was thinking, oh my God, I'm getting some kind of hip problem, of carrying this. So I stopped doing it, and actually it's cleared up. Where
yeah.
It's not, it was just, strain, I guess, but I don't want to have hip problems, when the joint, I've known people that had to have hip replacements, actually in tennis. People, that I've known that, were into some of these sports. I mean, they've, when I got to the point where I was getting injuries like that, I was like, this is no good. It's not fun anymore,
Yep.
And I just quit. But a lot of people with socialization, they they've been doing it for so long. They got friends that they go play with every weekend, and they just, they'll do anything to keep playing, and I just, people just said, man, how come you don't play anymore? And I got a new thing I'm swinging.
Yep.
And I just, a lot of my friends, when I quit tennis, and they couldn't understand it, but I just found that this hobby of metal detecting just was so much more exciting. It just, involved history. It just was fun. all the different kind of things that you find. I had no idea anything about coins or relics or anything when I first started. And within a couple years, people were coming to me asking me what stuff was.
Yeah.
It took over my life. Tennis was kind of like that in sports, but when I got into metal detecting, man, it was the most fun. It's still the most fun thing I've ever done.
Yeah, I mean, even when you're fine, you can. I've had newer detectors. They'll what is this? And when you can identify something for somebody, and they're like, "Holy crap! I didn't know it was." If it's something old, like 1800s. My God, that's really old. I had no idea. So you just made it even funner for them because they actually found something that they didn't even know what it was, and they find out it's something kind of cool, and that it's desirable to find. You're turning them on to metal detecting even more because then they're going to want to go out there and dig some more stuff up. I mean, they're still going on about your tennis racket, Craig. Just letting you know, you have a granite tennis racket strung with saber-toothed tiger guts or mammoth hair.
Yeah.
And he never found a gold coin because everything's in black and white. These guys are a trip. You guys are awesome. I'm sitting over cackling at what you're saying, Greg. I'm just cackling about the chat over here with Gavin and Ohio Relic Hunter, and I think Bob D's on there. And yeah, it's just with metal detectors, you just we're gonna have to do another show on this because we're almost to our half an hour point, Craig. It's so hard for Craig and I to keep on topic sometimes because the conversation leads so many different directions sometimes.
Well, it's kind of weird doing a half-hour show instead of, a show we don't know when it's going to end.
Well, it's like the show last night. I was talking about the sound, the beat, the frequency, the wave of sound. I mean, it's such a deep topic to talk about and try to explain over the radio, and it a little bit repetitive on some of the points, but. These are things that, we've already looked at. They're already looking at the depth of a metal detector, the discrimination power of a metal detector. The sound. I really got a feeling that the sound. There's waves of sound that we hear better, that we can work with better and understand what we're digging without. Because our ears are more sensitive than our eyes. I mean, you're going to notice a sound a lot faster than something bleeping up on the screen. And it's something that's repeatable and it sounds good, and it's something that I don't know if they have really done a lot of studies on to know what to put in these metal detectors, or if there's just a crapshoot and they come up with a sound that they like, that they just kind of like and put on there, the way the tone, the pitch of the tones and all that stuff. It's something that I think would be a good thing. I think they might surprise us with that kind of research. I'd love to test machines like that. I mean, I really would, Craig, because we hear so many nuances, and I think it could open that door up for a lot of other people that have problems with nuance and the way tones are because of injuries, going deaf or whatever. It's a real. I mean, for guys our age, back when we were kids, we didn't use ear protection when we fired shotguns and stuff. I mean, when I was in my teens and stuff, didn't even think about it. Of course, you can't hear after you've done it for, shooting skeet or at the rifle range or whatever. Didn't think about it, I guess. And, construction workers with air guns and all this stuff that's beat up our ears so much.
We used to go to rock concerts. Good God, man.
Oh, God.
The whole building would be shaking, It still does. It's still like that, but...
all the bass and everything that we use, but you start losing... tones in your ear. I mean, you hear that high pitched. And a lot of you probably know what I'm talking about. Where all of a sudden you'll get this high pitched ring in your ear. You've just lost another level of your hearing. I mean, it happens to me every so often. Not that it's. I've noticed my hearing's going a little bit, but I mean, I'm only in my 50s. I don't know what it's going to be like when I'm in my 60s or 70s, but it's because of other stuff I've done. But finding a frequency or a wave or the sound of the beep itself that is more user-friendly or a user can understand, I think it's, a good area to look at as far as improvement of a metal detector. Why put a, $1 million detector together or whatever design and have a 2 cent speaker and a a half tone that just comes through it. You know what I mean, Craig? It just doesn't. It's something that could be improved upon.
Yeah, I think it would improve the nuances too.
Yeah.
They have better speakers, but that it definitely like the this Killer Bee Wasp that I have. Those headphones are got superior sound.
Or Sunray Golds is another one. Sunray Golds are really good too. I really enjoy those headphones. But yeah, we're here over here at 7:30, Craig, and probably wrap up this show. But of course, we'll be on. This is Friday, so tomorrow night at 8 p.m. we'll do our regular show, and then of course Mondays and Fridays we do our coffee with Derek and Craig, just the short half-hour shows. Be sure to check out Patreon, guys. I know a lot of y'all listen to this on archive. I don't blame you because, heck, it's 7 o'clock in the morning. You're on your way to work. I mean, more than, believe it or not, Craig, 78% of our listeners listen through their phone. I did get that analyze, whatever, now, shoot, I can't even talk. The stat page on Spreaker.com, I can go to that and it tells me if they're listening on laptop or iPad or phones. But like 78% of our listeners listen on their iPhone or whatever. And
it's probably going to get close to 100% pretty soon. I mean, it's just.
I like the laptops myself because of the chat, you can type it in. But
I like my iPad Pro and my iPhone better. It's like the iPhone is so small, and I don't know. It's just a lot more convenient. The sound is great on it. They just keep getting better and better on them. So I don't really like computers like I do the mobile devices. But this operating system they're coming out with in the fall is going to change the iPads into going to blend them into the computers to the point where down the road they're probably going to, you probably won't use a big heavy laptop like you do nowadays, maybe.
Yeah, because I know that like Pauline's computer is an alien computer, and that thing weighs 20 pounds. I swear to God, it seems like it does anyways. I'm using a MacBook Pro, and it's not too bad. It's pretty thin and everything, but, for a while there.
Have you seen the price of the new Macs and stuff? I mean,
no, I paid $2,100 for this one back in 2012. I mean, I hate to see what they cost now. They're probably about $3,000.
Yeah, I walked into Best Buy and they just come out with the Retinas, and they had this, the non-Retina. I think I got it for like $1,400 with the extra memory.
Right.
But it still works. I'm not be able to really, keep up with the operating systems, but it works fine still.
Well, I got mine the same time. Within a month. It's funny. Me and Craig barely really were talking to each other a little bit online or whatever, and Craig goes out and gets a Mac. And I got a Mac too the same month, I think it was, and we didn't even know each other were looking for a computer. I love my MacBook Pro. I mean, this thing has done so much. I'm able to do the show on it. It's taken me a while to get used to it, but I'm a PC guy. I used to use PC all the time. The Toshibas and stuff like that. But this Mac, all in all, I have to say I really like Mac. I mean, once I got used to the way it does, because everything's kind of opposite on it. But I don't have any problems with viruses and stuff very often at all. I mean, I don't think I've ever had a virus on this thing. I keep it pretty well, secured, whatever. But I don't know what I'm going to do if it ever goes down, because it's like, man, they're so damn expensive. I guess I could probably get an older one, like I have. But yeah, I mean, this is 2012 or 2011 version. It may even be earlier than that. I just can't remember what month I got mine.
I think it's around 2012.
Was it? Yeah. I think that's when we got ours.
It's like they switched to these Retina screens, which are beautiful,
right.
But it's like now they're going into all the iPads and iPhones are going to the OLED. Seems like that's the newest one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I guess we got to wrap up the show, Craig, because we're already over.
Yeah.
I can't help myself. I got to talk. All right, guys. Well, you guys have a good day there. Be safe out there when you're working and stuff, and we'll talk to you tomorrow night on Hardcore Metal Detecting. Get out there, keep digging. God bless.